will grow old. Now please turn to Ecclesiastes in the 12th chapter now, and notice the point there that the congregator makes in chapter 12 and verse 1. And here he says, "Remember now your grand Creator in the days of your young manhood, before the calamitous days proceed to come, and the years have arrived when you will say, I have no delight in them." So certainly, whatever our age, we should remember that God observes what we do with our lives, and He will judge us accordingly. Now, it's foolishness to reason that, well, we're just going to wait and have fun now, be self-centered and do what we want to, and we'll serve Jehovah at a later date. Because we don't know how our life will end or what our life will be. Because as the scriptures say, unforeseen circumstances befall us all. But if we have hope in Jehovah, we do have a secure future. Now Solomon observed many human struggles and aspirations. He reflected how things can turn out in our life. He considered human imperfection that results in death, but also he factored in God-given knowledge and the prospects for future everlasting life. Now this evaluation is by a man with divinely enhanced wisdom. And the conclusion he reached was very profound and to the benefit of all of us. Now notice what the congregator says at chapter 12 and verse 13. He says, "The conclusion of the matter, everything having been heard, is, fear the true God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole obligation of man." Well, in 30 seconds or less, we'd like to ask our audience what they've appreciated about this week's reading.
I noticed the latter part of Ecclesiastes 9:4. It says, "A live dog is better off than a dead lion." And we can apply this scripture to our ministry by setting realistic, attainable goals. And when we look at our circumstances, our family, our health, our employment, etc., this can help us to have a balanced and reasonable schedule for our ministry so we're not exhausting ourselves.
Thank you. Now, Sister Casillas, please.
I appreciated Ecclesiastes 8:11. The scripture points out the human tendency can be to think that one can get away with anything when those in authority are not watching us. For example, someone that is usually law-abiding may feel free to pass up a stop sign, cheat on an exam, or do worse. As Jehovah's people, though, we know that Jehovah is always watching us, so we want to avoid anything that can disappoint Him.
Good. Brother Stratton.
I really appreciated 8 verse 17 where it says, "I saw all the work of the true God, how mankind are not able to find out the work." It says, even if they should say they are wise enough to know, they would be unable to find out. Jehovah teaches us so well, and yet in all their wisdom, they cannot find out the work of the true God.
Sister Stratton, please.
I liked Ecclesiastes 7:9. It says, "The taking of offense rests in the bosom of the stupid ones." This scripture was one that caught my attention at the first convention I ever went to. I realized the stupid ones are those who don't have a relationship with Jehovah. And being a sensitive person, I thought, yes, it's good to be patient with others and not take things too seriously. So Jehovah will be patient with us, and we can keep a good relationship with Jehovah.
Good. Sister Webb.
I like Ecclesiastes 11 verse 1 and 2 because it talks about generosity, and it encourages us to be generous in verse 2 with not just a few people, but many. A generous person takes delight in doing good to others, and even when difficulties arise, he's confident that he will always have what he needs. He believes Jesus' words where it says, "Practice giving, and people will give to you."
Good. Brother Sakio.
Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 16 says, "Do not become righteous over much." A person who becomes righteous over much is setting their own standards for righteousness and judges others by them. This causes one to question Jehovah's way of handling matters. So if a person becomes righteous over much, he is elevating his standards above those of God, and proving himself to be unrighteous in God's sight. Jehovah is the one that sets the standard for righteousness, not us.
Sister Esther.
I liked Ecclesiastes 10:11 because it highlighted what good would it be to be an incompetent snake charmer only to get bitten. Solomon was trying to help us understand that there's more advantage to being able to apply knowledge skillfully and thus be competent in all we do. And we could apply that in our ministry as well. By being skillful and competent in the use of our tongue, we can have the right effect of reaching the hearts of our listeners.
Good. Brother Jesus.
Ecclesiastes 9:7 says, "Go eat your food with rejoicing, and drink your wine with a good heart, because already the true God has found a pleasure in your works." This means that if we have a good relationship with Jehovah, then we can feel confident that He will bless our lifelong efforts to sustain ourselves. Food and drink will be enjoyed having a clear conscience.
Brother Green.
I enjoyed Ecclesiastes 9:10, where we were told that we should serve Jehovah with everything that we have right now, because verse 12 reminds us our life can come to an end at any time without warning. And so it's better for us now to serve Jehovah with all we have than to never get the chance to serve Him and to get the benefits from serving Him faithfully.
Good. And Sister Alvarez, please.
I appreciated the words of King Solomon spoken at Ecclesiastes 9:14 through 16 when he taught, "The wisdom of the needy one is despised, and his words are not listened to. We see even the lowly but wise man who saved an entire city from destruction was not remembered. What a great loss."
And Sister Brzezinski.
I appreciate Ecclesiastes 12:12, which I find especially true in this computer age, specifically the internet age, because it says the amount of written material that the world spits out is just endless. But if we spend a lot of time on it, it will mentally and physically fatigue us. It's just human reasoning, and much of it reflects the mind of Satan and is therefore of very little lasting value.
Okay. Sister Cooper, please.
I like the way that the 92 Awake applied chapter 11, verse 4. It mentioned that if a farmer focuses only on the negative possibilities of wind and rain, he would fail to take the necessary action. Likewise, if we find ourselves unemployed, we don't want to allow negative feelings to paralyze us from improving our financial situation.
Thank you for your comments, audience.
Thank you, Brother Webb, and the 12 participants here. Wow, what a nice variety of comments, and you made it through that in 6 minutes and less. That's fantastic. You stole my thunder, though. Yeah, I was going to comment on a couple of those. But very nice, nicely done. Isn't it nice to research some little point that you can glean from the scripture? That's why the highlights are always my favorite part of the school. Is you get a chance to dissect all these verses and what they mean. And Ecclesiastes, some of those aren't that easy. You have to really do some research, isn't that true? But you walk away benefiting from it. That'd be a nice family, I would think, a nice family worship, just going through the book of Ecclesiastes and taking verse by verse and researching. Boy, you could spend a year on that, right? So there you go, you got a year out yet. Very nice. Okay, moving on to talk number 1.